Hari Om, everybody. Good morning. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Gananantva Ganapati Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashunvannuti Dasadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhir Vajinivati Dhinam Vityavat Om Ganeshaya Namaha Om Saraswatyai Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brahaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktara Bhavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti 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 Om Bhadram Karne Bhishrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashye Makshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Estushtyavagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitayadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastaksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti 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 Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivardham Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Vagishadya Sumanasaha Sarvartanam Upakrame यं नत्वा कृतकृत्या स्युः तं नमामि गजाननम्। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणे विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिम् द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम्। एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतम् भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। यस्य सन्निधिमात्रेण सर्वे शिष्याश्च सेवकाः कर्मक्षेत्रे प्रवर्तन्ते चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम्। चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम्। So let's quickly recap from the previous modules. So far, we have learned several aspects of our culture. Our Adhyatma Samskriti, our spiritual culture, our Bhautika Samskriti, our materialistic culture, about pursuit of happiness in general, and most importantly, In the first module, we learnt about Shreya, Preya, Viveka, the path of the pleasant and the path of the good. In the second module, we learnt about the classification of Shastras, our Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, Itihasas, and Vedas as the basis of our culture, our source book. We called it the Apurusheya Grantha. 4 Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda. We talked about 6 limbs of Veda, Shad Angas and Upavedas. We talked about 3 subdivisions of Vedas, Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and in the last module, Jnana Kanda. We learnt about that their purpose is Chitta Shuddhi, purification of our minds. Chitta Ekagrata, concentration of our mind, leading to the knowledge of the self. In module 3, we learnt about the Karma Siddhanta, which is the basis for the reincarnation. We learnt about the types of karmas. We learnt about how to divinize our actions. That is how to turn karma to karma yoga. We learnt that there is kayaka karma, vachika karma, karma by speech, and manasika karma at the thought level. And we learned that each of these classifications, like puja, japa, chintanam, through these 3 equipment that we have. Then we learned how to divinize our emotions, making the mind single-pointed to gain chitta ekagrata, leading from saguna sakara brahma to nirguna nirakara brahma, to that attributeless, formless Brahman. That led to our last class. We learnt about the Jnana Kanda, the knowledge portion of the Vedas. It is also called as Upanishads or Vedanta. We learned the definition of Upanishad, the significance of the Guru Shishya Parampara. We learned a little bit about Shad Darshanas, the 6 schools of Vedanta. We learnt about Prasthana Trayi, the Shruti Prasthana, the Smriti Prasthana, and the Nyaya Prasthana. In the last class, we also learnt about the 4 sample Mahavakyas, picked from each Vedas, leading to the ultimate reality, that is Brahman. In our symbolism topic, in the last class, we learned a little bit about the Garbhagudi, the temple, and the prakara, and the burning of the camphor. That brings us to today's class, today's module, we are going to talk more about Nyaya Prasthana. So the first is, we discussed the Prasthana Trayi and we went through the Upanishads in the last class. They are called as Shruti Prasthana, meaning the knowledge with an emphasis on the Shruti as Pramana. Shruti as the basis. And today we will learn a little bit about Brahma Sutra. Nyaya Prasthana it is called, meaning the knowledge with an emphasis on logic. Nyaya Shastra. Then you have Bhagavad Gita as Smriti Prasthana, meaning the knowledge with an emphasis on the Smriti. Sutras are considered as a form of aphorism. Padma Purana gives this following shloka. Alpaksharam asandigdam Saravat Vishwato Mukham Astobhyam Anavadyam Cha Sutram Sutravido Viduhu. And these sutras act as pointers or memory aids for intensive discussion on any topic. So the sutras, according to this shloka, should meet the following conditions. It should be alpaksharam. They should be very concise, meaning with very few words, easy for memorization. Asandigdam. They should be unambiguous. It should be saravat. They should communicate the essence of various viewpoints in these limited words. They should be Vishwato Mukham, multifaceted. It should be capable of being understood from various perspectives. Astobhyam. It should not contain any redundancy, no repetition of words like cha, tu, api, etc. It should be anavadyam. There should be no logical fallacies. Some of these common examples of sutras are Brahma Sutra of Vedavyasa Muni, that is a part of the Prasthana Trayi, Narada Bhakti Sutra, Gautama Rishi's Nyaya Sutra, Patanjali Muni's Yoga Sutra. These are all good examples of sutras. Brahma Sutras are also known as Sharirika Sutras. They are composed by Vedavyasa Muni. They present the entire philosophy of Upanishads in a very concentrated form. There are 555 sutras, but it is popular to study Chatussutri or the first 4 sutras. The 2-volume picture I am showing from Chinmaya International Foundation, published by that, contain those 4 sutras. This is like a postgraduate text in Vedanta. Then you have the Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is considered the 3rd source of scriptural authority in the Prasthanatrayi. Bhagavad Gita is known as the Lord's Song, written also by sage Vedavyasa Muni. We recently had a Gita Gnana Yagna at this temple, which had the essence of Bhagavad Gita, wherein we studied all of the 18 chapters in a nutshell. You can actually still catch up on those at the temple website. There are traditionally about 700 shlokas. There are traditionally 700 shlokas, not about. One by Dhritarashtra, 41 verses by Sanjaya, 84 verses by Arjuna, and the remaining 574 verses by Bhagavan Krishna. Widely accepted version of Bhagavad Gita contains actually 701 verse. The spiritual teacher, Shri Madhusudana Saraswati, who is the author of Gita Dhyanam, who also wrote the concluding colophon at the end of each chapter, added that question at the beginning of the 13th chapter, which makes it 701. There are 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. We have gone through all these details, and Bhagavad Gita is found in the middle of Mahabharata in Bhishma Parva 25 to 42. It is considered most profound, very poetic, very popular, philosophical composition in Sanskrit literature. It is the only work of philosophy in the world that is delivered right in the smack middle of the battlefield, which has such great allegorical significance. And we have gone through all that in detail. Bhagavad Gita's teachings are timeless. They are applicable at a universal level. It addresses humanity everywhere, at all times, in all aspects of life. That is why we call it the Marga Darshaka Grantha, guiding principles for life. Now, there are a lot of common misconceptions that in Hinduism, we worship many gods, many goddesses. It is important to note that Hinduism is not polytheistic, belief in many gods, each a separate entity. There is oneness in that diversity. As we saw in the last class, Upanishads declare that Brahman is pointed out as nameless. formless, attributeless, pure existence. For example, government is having different branches of functionality. Especially now that it is the election season, let us take the example of the federal government in Washington, D.C. The government is one, but different officials have different powers and different functionality. Similarly, that supreme power Brahman acting through the creative power is called the creator or Brahman. Acting through the sustainer, he is called as Vishnu. And acting through the destructive power or the reconstruction, he is called as Shiva, also known as Trinity. Now, let us look at the four aspects to that divinity for our understanding. Let us take Lord Vishnu as the first example. The absolute aspect of Lord Vishnu is nameless, he is formless, attributeless reality. He is in fact the origin of all this creation. The second aspect of Vishnu as God, as the creator, as the sustainer of this world. Then we have the third identity of Vishnu as he appears, comes down to this earth as Avatara on this earth. Like Rama Avatara, Krishna Avatara, Vamana Avatara, Parashurama Avatara, many in the Dashavatara that we have known. Then the fourth aspect is the Ishtarupa, Ishtadevata, the form chosen by the devotee as his or her favorite for personal worship. In this aspect, Lord Vishnu is shown as often lying on a serpent, Shesha Shayana, or standing on a lotus, holding the conch in one hand, mace, discus, and lotus in his four hands. Thus, we see that Lord Vishnu has his first aspect as the supreme reality, the cosmic form as the creator or the sustainer of this world. The third aspect as a particular reincarnation. And the fourth aspect, form chosen by the devotee as Ishtadevata for worship and contemplation. Similarly, when we take Lord Shiva, you can take a Devi also as an example. All forms of gods and goddesses in Hinduism. Lord Shiva, as the absolute nature, is formless, nameless, attributeless reality. In his cosmic form, Lord Shiva is represented as the destroyer of this world, playing his Tandava drum and dancing in that circle of flames. And Lord Shiva most often is depicted as the Guru Avatar, as Sri Dakshinamurti. Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji is believed to be the avatar of Lord Shiva himself in our Guru Parampara. The fourth aspect of Lord Shiva is the Ishtarupa, the form chosen by the devotee as his or her favorite for personal worship. In this aspect, Lord Shiva is depicted as Shiva sitting for meditation with the divine river Ganga representing the knowledge flowing from his head. In fact, one of these modules, we will take up Lord Shiva for our symbolism topic. I assume you remember from our Shruti and Smriti topic that we had discussed a couple of weeks ago. The Manusmriti is an important Smriti Shastra. Manu was the mind-born son of Brahmaji, the creator. The word Manushya, Manava, is believed to have originated from this word. Even man, probably later in English. We all are regarded as children of Manu. According to Bhagavat Purana, Manu and Shatarupa, who were the mind-born children of Brahmaji, the creator, he taught him the Dharma Shastra. Manu and Shatarupa are like the Adam and Eve. We have a similar story in Bible that God created Adam and Eve was created by Adam's rib and so on. They became partners to create all other human beings. Manu's role is like that of a religious defense minister for the entire Brahmanda, entire cosmos. Why? To protect dharma, righteousness, and to see that people follow righteous way of living. Even in Bhagavad Gita, a promise is given. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That's a promise given to us by the Lord. Manu assures that maintenance of dharma. How? By sending prophets, devotees, Santa Mahatmas, saints, who come into this world to establish dharma, righteousness. From time to time, they come down. So Brahmaji the Chaturmukha Brahma, teaches Dharma Shastra to Manu Bhagavan. In turn, Manu teaches it to the rishis, who in turn give it to the rest of the society. This is how the flow happens historically. So in the first chapter of Manusmriti, the rishis ask Manu to teach them the rahasya, the secret of Dharma Shastra for the welfare of entire humanity, entire society. And Manu teaches this to Bhrigu Maharshi and requests him to teach it to the other rishis. So in summary, Manusmriti says that all actions of human beings are prompted by desires. Everyone believes that they will become happy by fulfilling these desires. And then he tells them that desires are never satisfied by fulfillment, and the more they try to satisfy, the more they grow. So that freedom from desire, kama vivarjitam, is total happiness. This is the crux of Dharma Shastra, which tells us that we should live a life of discretion, a life of righteousness. That is the essence of Dharma Shastra. That leads us to the topic of what is Dharma. And Dharma is determined by 4 factors. It should be prescribed by the Shruti, Smriti, good noble conduct as accepted by the society we live in. It is called as Sadachara. And it should give one joy and pleasure after performing this. We can tell if it is dharmic action by seeing that if it is approved by these 4 factors: Shruti, Smriti, society's code of ethics, and determining if the action gives joy. You know, in US, we see that if the action is considered legal or illegal based on the constitution of the country or the laws in the United States. An action may be legal in this country, but may be illegal in another country. For example, drinking alcohol may be legal in the United States, but is illegal in Saudi Arabia. Legality or illegality is determined by the laws of that country. So an action may be legal but not moral. An action may be legal and moral but may not bring happiness to us. So if the action lacks any of these 4, like the Chaturvida Lakshana, it is considered not a perfect action based on dharma. That is how the Shastras tell us. This is a broad outline, but there are many situations in life that are not so easy, that may not have this clear cut, black and white solutions. So the first aspect of dharma is acharaha prathamo dharma. A good conduct in life. Do actions in accordance with the moral values of the society. Ravana, for example, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, a great Shiva Upasaka. He performed rituals by offering his own head. And Lord Shiva was so pleased with his Upasana, he gave him a boon that each time he cuts his head off, another one would grow in his place. We have read stories of Hiranyakashipu, who had done great rituals and great penance. But all of these Rakshasas lacked love, compassion, and for that they were considered as Rakshasas. You know, when you spell Rakshasa in Sanskrit, spelled backwards, they become Sakshara. So we should not imagine that these demons in the modern day, they're not going to have horns coming out of their head or some crooked teeth. They are literate people, Sakshara, but with a crooked mind. So acharaha pratamo dharma means do your duty first without asking why. When we say action should give you joy, does not mean that we do actions that causes sorrow to others. So that leads to two classifications of dharma, two kinds. Sanatana dharma, that prescribes universal values to be followed by all people in life, irrespective of their nationality, their age, their profession, etc. And the second aspect is the varnashrama dharma, specific duties given to each individual based on their status in society, based on their age, based on their sex, based on their other categories, and so on. So, dharma in Sanskrit means that which holds everyone and everything together. Dhruti, that which integrates the personality. It unifies the society at large. That is why when we follow dharmic actions, it leads to integrated personality within the individual. And that way we have an integrated society overall. That is why when we say Rama Rajya, in the kingdom of Rama, people lived like that. So Manu Bhagavan in Manusmriti talks about these 10 values that characterize the Sanatana Dharma. What I'm going to do is just list them so that you have a high level overview of that. The first one being Dhruti, fortitude or forbearance, capacity to hold on to something righteous. Even in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, talks about tamasic dhruti, rajasic dhruti, sattvic dhruti, and how to pursue noble goals in life. The second aspect is forgiveness, kshama. The third aspect is control of sense organs, dhamma. Fourth one is asteya, non-stealing. Not just physical stealing, but non-stealing even the intellectual ideas. Then you have shaucha, purity, both internal and external purity. You have control over the organs of perception, gnanendriyas. You have discrimination, viveka, or differentiation. Knowledge, truthfulness, satya. And doing things without anger, akrodha. These are the 10 values that are derived from the Sanatana Dharma. That leads us to the symbolism topic today. Just as we know, when we are teaching children how to ride a bicycle, we need support, training wheels, or a crutch while walking, etc. Similarly, we have called what is called as pratika for support for our mental and intellectual comprehension. So we need pictures, we need idols, similar to any of the visual means. I'm making these PowerPoint slides every week. We present graphs, charts in our companies. And when we say a picture is worth 1,000 words, lot of people keep pictures on their desk at work just to invoke the feeling of love for their family. Once, Swami Vivekananda ji visited a king who was an atheist. He said, "You're all idol worshippers. Idol is just a piece of stone, and worshipping it is useless," he would say. So in his royal palace, when Swami Vivekananda ji visited his palace, there were many portraits of kings' forefathers hanging on the wall. Swami Vivekananda ji told one of the ministers in the court to bring down one of these portraits of king's father. He told him, put it on the floor. Then he ordered the minister to trample on that picture and spit on it. The king was shocked. He asked the Swami, what are you telling him to do? Swamiji told him to spit on that photograph. King was very upset and he was angry. He said, what are you saying? How can you insult my late father like that? Then Swami Vivekananda ji asked him innocently that it is only a picture. It's not your father, is it? Then the king understood Swamiji's point. The same way, when a devotee turns or tunes his or her mind to the pratika, he can come to experience the presence of the Lord in that Ishta Devata. Similarly, in Hinduism, various forms are used for our meditation. For each form, there is a dhyana shloka which describes a deity's form, which helps the seeker to meditate on its subtle meaning. Let us take this famous dhyana shloka associated with Lord Vishnu. Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasadrusham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogi Bhrityanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikkanatham. Shantakaram, the very nature of absolute peace. In that reality, there is no disturbance of any kind. There is that absolute peace. Bhujagashayanam, the one reclining on that snake. The snake is called Shesha, meaning that which remains when everything else is gone. In Bhagavad Purana, snake represents that unmanifest Prakriti, the condition of the world before the manifest Prakriti, the creation. Same way, in our deep sleep, which we experience every night, we do not experience in that deep sleep the pluralistic world because of the absence of thoughts and thought modifications. Therefore, the Lord is called Kalatita, Our Pujya Gurudev used to say, time ka hi baap hai. As you see here, the God symbolism has a language of its own. Padmanabham. We see that the lotus growing out of his navel. In Kamala, Ka means water, joy, Brahman. And Mala means dirt. Here the dirt refers to which comes out of oneself. It means that the I consciousness coming out of the supreme consciousness. When I am in deep sleep, I am unmanifest. I am avyakta. There is no creation. And when I wake up, the first thought is the consciousness that I am, aham, aham. Thus, in the sequence, there was pure consciousness, Shantakaram, and in association with Avyakta Avastha, and the time of unmanifest Prakriti, the Lord is described as Bhujagashayanam, laying on that bed of snakes, the lotus of I consciousness, along with the four aspects of our mind. There arises the pure consciousness and begins the process of creation. And here he is called Padmanabham Suresham, the Lord of the Suras, the gods. There are lesser gods like Agni, Surya, etc. In Hinduism represent devatas who preside over our organs of action and our organs of perception, which we will study in one of the future classes. Here, Lord Vishnu represents the source beyond all our natural conditioning, Vishwadharam, indicating that Lord Vishnu is the support of the universe, the substratum of the world, and the consciousness is appearing as the world. So the four aspects of Brahma is our mind. The first mouth is the Sankalpa. The thought has arisen. I'm talking about Chaturmukha Brahma. The thought has arisen that I need to go this morning to the Vedanta lecture. And the second mouth says, Nischaya, yes, I will go. And why did I decide this way? Last week, I went and the class was not that bad. I guess I can do 60 minutes. This memory, the third mouth, which is called the Smriti, then we make the firm determination that I will go to the class. We get in our car and go in a normal circumstance, or we go onto our computer and log on into Zoom. This final determination is the ahankara, the ego, aham karta iti ahankara, which is the fourth aspect of the Brahma. Vishwadharam, indicating that he is the support of the universe, the substratum of the world. Gagana sadrisham, meaning that all pervading space. Just as space, it accommodates everything. It remains unpolluted, untouched, nirmala. Meghavarnam, blue color of water-bearing cloud. Blue represents that infinity. Sky or vast expansive of oceanic waters appear as blue because the eyes cannot see their limits. Pictures of Lord are generally shown in blue, depicting this nature of infinity. Shubhangam, that body which is auspicious, that is pure. Lakshmi Kantam, the beloved goddess Lakshmi, stands for that power of creation. Lakshmi stays where Narayana is. This indicates that the power and the nature of Prakriti stays where Purusha is. Kamalanayanam, the lotus-eyed one, that stands for purity. His eyes are always cheerful, fully blossomed. Normally, we chant this verse without knowing the meaning. This helps us to meditate on that form of the Lord with correct understanding. Just to recap from today's module, we covered the Prasthanatrayi, the Upanishads in the last class, the Brahma Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita in this class. We covered the four aspects of the deity, Lord Narayana, Lord Shiva as examples. We learned a little bit about Dharma Shastra, the Manusmriti, the Chaturvida Lakshana, the four aspects of a dharmic action, Sanatana Dharma and 10 values of it, Varnashrama Dharma, then the meaning of the Dhyana Shloka from Vishnu Sahasranama. So in the next several classes, I would like to cover topics of Itihasa, Purana, mind, its control, gunas, karmendriyas, gnanendriyas, panchakosha viveka, shariratraya viveka, avastatraya viveka. I will see you in the next class, same time, same place, next week. Hari Om. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you, everybody.